All right, all right. It is Monday, August 4th, and we are here ready to draft us some underdog fantasy best ball drafts. And I'm excited about it. I'm feeling pretty pumped up today. Um, I don't know why, I just do. And feeling good about what we're going to get into tonight. So, kind of excited about it. If you don't know what we're doing, I always start out the same way to make sure anybody who clicks on any of our streams or videos knows what's happening. My name is Nick, aka Perfect216. This is Main Event Fantasy. We're drafting live on Underdogs, my favorite place to draft. It's where I draft hundreds of teams every year. If you love drafting fantasy football teams, this is the place to do it. It is. And so the reason we can do hundreds of teams is because we can draft in best ball draft, you draft your team, and then the best players play automatically. You do not have to manage your team during the season. There's no time commitment. There's no trades, no waiver wires. You draft and forget. I should say draft and set. You don't need to forget because you can check in on your teams as the year goes on and see how they're doing. And there's a lot of chances you can win a bunch of money. So, if you enjoy the stream at all, if you get any value out of this, like, subscribe down below. I try to go live every night between 10 p.m. and midnight Central Time. And so we'd love to have you on. If you get on here, throw a comment, jump in a chat with us. We love to interact with you. I love to talk out anything fantasy football, wrestling, life in general. Happy to be here, answer any questions that you have. And with that, let's just jump into our first draft of the night, and we'll kind of get talking. So with best ball, a lot of different tournaments you can get into. The Pomeranian 2 here, I've gotten a handful of drafts already in here, but it's starting to fill pretty quickly, so we're going to grab one of these tonight. These are $3 entries. There will be 74,400 entrants in this. Maximum number of entries is 50, $20,000 to first place. Weeks 1 through 14, 2 out of 12 teams will advance. Then in weeks 15, 2 out of 10 will advance. Week 16, 1 out of 10 will advance. And then a 248-seat final. And you can kind of see the prize breakdown here, $20,000 for first, $10,005 for second, and so on. So we're going to grab and rip one of these tonight and see how we feel. I'm feeling really good, and I feel like I might get crazy in these drafts where I might get a little bit sideways and do things out of character. Whoa, that was weird. Got a little refresh going on, and we're back. And somehow it refreshed us into pick 12. So we'll work with that. I don't know what happened there. That was kind of strange. But we're at pick 12. With pick 12, we get a lot of variance. And when I say we're getting into a crazy draft, this could be where we do it, because at pick 12, you can get a little crazier than you can do at picks 1 through 4, because you have less room for adjustments. We'll go through and just kind of play this calmly. We've been talking every day about the different teams. We went through all of the AFC teams, and then I think over the next couple of weeks, we'll get into some NFC teams. But tonight, I just want to play it cool, play it easy, just talk through the players, talk through the board, and just focus on some quality drafts. If this one goes well, we'll rip a Best Ball Mania draft as well. I've got to continue to pull those together because, we're in the month of August. This is prime drafting season. Training camps and preseason is underway. And we got to keep a good, steady flow of these best ball drafts going. We've done over 400 already and plan on getting over 700 by the time year's done. So, or I should say by the time drafting season's done. And then if you think in this channel that, hey, once you're done drafting, are you done? Absolutely not. We'll be getting updates on how our teams are doing. And I also do daily fantasy betting. So I'll get into some of the parlay betting and things of that nature, the pick'ems that you can do here on Underdog, as well as some other places. So I'll probably jump into that, each week, and then I'll continue to release some other content. But let's see how this draft goes. I don't see any regular people that have drafted before in here, but I'm sure I've drafted some of them with some of these guys in the past. When you draft so many teams, it's hard to keep up with all the names that are on these boards. It feels like maybe this is a little laggy, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's just me with that refresh we did. McCaffrey goes at 7. Barkley went all the way to 6. Barkley's been sliding. Jefferson's been sliding. Gibbs is being pulled up. And I think people are just kind of trying to figure out where they want to take their guys. McCaffrey's kind of settling in around 7 and 8. So we're going to do some crazy stuff. I feel like getting crazy here. Let's get unique. We're going to do... And the best part is when you pick at the end of a draft, you kind of get to go back to back, so you can kind of do whatever you want. And that doesn't always feel too bad. So we're going to do Achane and Henry. We're going to do a back-to-back running back play and feel good about what we're doing to start this draft. So with Achane and Henry, it's interesting here when you look at where they're going in this draft board, and I'll pull it around for you. So I find that the back half of the draft, you can mix it up. I see the values pretty even. I actually think Derrick Henry is a better value in the middle of the second. I've gotten him there. I keep talking about that. I think, when you look at a guy like Achane and even Genty, they kind of profile as guys that can win you the league, meaning to say they can be RB1. But even if Derrick Henry, let's just say he's the running back 5 on the year, let's just for argument's sake, right? And he doesn't have the passing upside necessarily, and he is getting a little older, all that, blah, blah, blah. Let's say if he doesn't run for 2,000 yards, he can still run for 1,500, 12 touchdowns. And if he goes off in the fantasy football playoffs, he's still good enough. You don't have to have the RB1 to make it out of your pods. You don't have to have the best running back on the board to make it out, because it's about the whole team as a whole. And it's really about timing, right? Who's going to pop off at the right times. And that's kind of how this, really works. But I really think this year has been interesting because the balance in the first few rounds has been so different than last year. If you looked at last year, these first couple rounds would be a few running backs sprinkled in, and then it'd be flooded with orange. And I got to be honest, I did a draft earlier, and I went 1 running back and then 5 straight wide receivers. And then I did another one where I went 4 straight wide receivers and then a running back in pick 5. And I liked both teams because I had the wide receiver depth. And so I think that's still the problem that people are going to have this year, that maybe they're forgetting about last year, is if you don't have enough depth at wide receiver, even if you have 2 great running backs, you have to start 3 wide receivers every week. And if you're trying to start Josh Downs every week, I think you're going to be disappointed. So I really think you can get into a hole if you don't get that wide receiver depth. Now, I'm sitting here taking 2 back-to-back running backs to start. And I'm not saying that's the only way to do it. I'm just saying that I think that's what people forget about with these drafts, is they get excited about your elite quarterbacks, which you should. You get excited about these elite tight ends that are popping off. You should. But this year, I think the real, maybe what the real galaxy brain thought here is there's too much green on the board early. Maybe that's the concern, right? Maybe it's too much running backs earlier in drafts this year, and it's gonna maybe come back to bite some of us. I don't know. We're gonna draft all kinds of strategies, this year. That's why we draft so many teams. We've kind of played at them all to some extent, and I'm just trying to figure out what teams I like best, and I've got it pretty much figured out what strategies I want to go with more depending on the tournament size. So we got a little run on running backs here. Breece Hall, Hampton, Williams. Out of that 3, Hampton is definitely my preference by far. All right, ball game. What are you going to do? So when we go running back here to start, we definitely need to start grabbing our shovels and digging out of the wide receiver avalanche. Ideally for me, I would go Davante Adams, and I was going to say Mike Evans here. However, we're going to go a different route. We're going to go Mike Evans and I won't get Rice here. It's just too early for him. You know what? Let's see what happens if we really put ourselves in a hole, and we'll take Jaden Daniels at a quarterback. So we're starting Devon Achane, Derrick Henry. Then we go Mike Evans, Jaden Daniels. Feels like everything I just said, I'm doing the absolute reverse on. And we can still make this work, but we're really going to need some good wide receiver values to fall. We'll probably get some extra wide receivers to cover ourselves. So we'll probably get 8. I've done teams with 9 wide receivers if the rest of the room is strong. So we'll see how that goes. Welcome in. If anybody just joined us, drop a comment in the chat. Let me know your thoughts on maybe draft strategies this year. If you're new to best ball, let me know. Ask any questions you have. I'm happy to explain it to you. This is best ball drafting. It does apply to redraft, the similar strategies. However, not everything applies the same way when you redraft leagues. There are some nuances, and I'm happy to kind of explain how that lays out if you got any questions. Jalen Hurts goes at 42, pairs him up with A.J. Brown. You know, that's always nice. Worthy goes 43. You know, with Terry McLaurin, it's interesting because, you know, there's all this talk about will he be traded, will he not? He's in a weird spot, and this is why I say that. Age 30 starts to be the cliff or fall off for most wide receivers, meaning to say they're kind of out of their prime. I don't know that Terry's out of his prime, but I think when you're an NFL team trying to decide, are you going to give him the bag, right, for 4 years? I don't think you can, but it's not about what I think. It's about what other people think, and I don't know that Terry's worth that, but at the same time, I think Washington needs him. When you look at the rest of their roster, I think that they really do need to have him signed. So we'll see what happens. I think they'll sign him and not trade him. But this is the NFL, so anything's possible. All right, Cortland Sutton off the board. I just realized that Team 1 took CeeDee Lamb over Ja'Marr Chase, which is interesting. Normally, he's going to go in the 3 through 6 range. I would say more like 4 or 5 range typically. But there's been some good camp news on him. Justin Jefferson had a little bit of Achilles thing, so he slid down board. So people are pulling him up a little bit. And I guess this team is either intentionally trying to get a little creative in the side of the board, but I don't know. One thing I'll point out here. So you see Team 2 takes Joe Burrow to stack with Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins. I love the double stack. There's nothing wrong with it. But here's my issue. There will be other teams in this tournament that will get Joe Burrow around later at 71, and will have other picks here and other values on their team. So he's given up a little bit of that. I think you got to be patient when it comes to you've got to let some things come to you, and that's where you really create value for yourself because you're trying to win the whole thing. You know, not just make it through the regular season, right? You want to win some money. You want to really try and win the whole thing. Then you need to look at it more. You got to take some risk here. All right, it's back around to us. We're going to grab my man Rome. I love him. And then we're going to grab Debo here. When we grab Jaden Daniels as our QB1, we love grabbing Debo, who actually will be for sure in Washington, as a stack with him. So we're starting to dig out of this hole of wide receivers. We've got great running back start, got our elite quarterback. Feels good. Like what's coming to us. No crazy values, but we've got a stack. We've got a solid team. We still need more work on wide receiver to feel good though. So round 6, we're starting to get towards the wide receiver drop off. So what I'm hoping here is when we know we need wide receivers, we want to see teams reach on running backs. Please grab all the running backs they can get, and let's hope that they leave us a couple of really nice receivers to pick from here in just a little bit. I have a feeling we won't get that lucky because we've 17 picks to go before it's going to come back our way. So, but we'll see. You never know. With Debo, let's just kind of pull him up real quick. I'll give you a little bit of stats on Debo, and let's talk about some realistic expectations. The first news that Debo had this year was at camp when people were saying that he showed up fat, not out of shape, and not like his normal self. And so that scared a lot of people. Why am I struggling to find him real quick here? There he is. So last year, obviously, he was on the 49ers. He didn't have the best season. His snap share was a little lower than I think most would like. He only had one top 5 week where he finished as the top 5 wide receiver. He was the number 5. And we had 1 week where he was number 10. Other than that, he really wasn't there. He still played 15 games, and he ended up finishing the wide receiver 44. But his snap share is only 73%. I think he's going to be up this year, and we're hearing he's doing pretty good in camp. Quite honestly, I'm not getting a ton of Debo unless I'm pairing him with Jaden Daniels for the stack, but I don't mind him. And normally when you get Debo, you're getting him as like your wide receiver 4 or 5, not your wide receiver 3 like I'm getting. So I probably won't be overweight Debo, but you know what, though? If Terry McLaurin does get traded, then Debo all of a sudden becomes a absolute smash, and you'll be glad because people will start taking him in around 4 instead of round 6. So better to get some now in case something happens, and then you're going to be the one on the rise, right? Board's coming back around. Let's see if we're going to get lucky and get some nice. Let's click on some of these wide receivers that we might be into. Oops, I'm not as big into Josh Downs as some people are, but I get why they are. When we start our double anchor running back, we really, even if we liked some of the running backs here, which they're okay, I'm not in love with them. We kind of need to punt it and focus in on staying ahead and catching up a little bit at wide receiver. And I really would feel great if we could let Matthew Golden fall to us. I don't know that he will. I feel like ball game here, who only has 3 wide receivers, is going to want a piece. Nope, he goes before that. Shakir's an interesting one. I really liked him. Now he's got this little ankle injury, kind of week to week. And with his injury, Josh Downs goes. So we'll go Shakir, and then we'll go Jaden Higgins, a rookie. They're starting to release, teams are starting to release their initial, depth charts for what it's worth. And before they released theirs, he was actually listed as a wide receiver 4. Obviously, I don't think he's going to play that way all year. And even if Higgins does start as, let's just say, the wide receiver 3 or 4, in general, he could easily, play his way into way more playing time and, really crush it in the fantasy football playoffs in weeks 15, 16, 17. And when we need a receiver, I love taking rookies and second-year receivers because they haven't hit their ceilings yet. We don't know what they are. You kind of are going off player profiles. And I want guys that have variance and high ceilings. You don't want to take guys that are safe. Safe doesn't win you championships. Safe just, means you're not going to get dead last. But I'm not playing to get the middle of the pack. I'm not playing to get, in this tournament where we have thousands of players. I don't want to finish at, just okay. I don't want to just get my money back, right? I'm playing because I want to try and win the whole tournament. And when you do that, you want to be shooting for upside. So rookies are usually the way to go because they have the most volatility, because they have the most unknown. All you have is a player profile and some college tape and some combine scores. I'd actually think what I would tell you is when you're looking at rookies, the number one thing you should look at when evaluating rookies and how you evaluate them is, number one, their draft capital. How high was their draft capital? Where did the team take them? Did they trade up to take them? Some of those things show a lot. And the higher the draft capital, the more likely they're going to be, coaches and players and, front office staffs, they're putting their careers on the line for people that get picked in the first and second round, right? So they're going to want to play them. They're going to want to force feed them because they want them to be successful so they can look like a genius, right? So. Oh, boy. So we talked about the weirdness of that guy at number 1. He just went 3 quarterbacks in a row: Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott. While he does pair up Juwan Jennings with Purdy, he does pair up Prescott with CeeDee Lamb. This is a terrible decision for him because now, he's got to dig out a wide receiver. He can only start 3. And keep in mind, you can only start 1 quarterback a week, and you just put 3 in a row. Can it work? Yes. Is it likely to work? No. And my man here probably needs to join our channel and get a little bit more feedback from us, because we could help him not light money on fire. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. But that's just one more team that's probably not going to win. And that increases our chances of winning, right? So I'm not going out of my way to sabotage anyone, because that doesn't help us at all. But when teams sabotage themselves while not hurting us, we'll just smile and say, thank you. All right. Draft board is coming around to us. All right. I'm going to get Shaheed. And for sure, he'll be my first one here, another receiver. And we could get a running back, but you know what? I think I'm going to let this thing ride, man. I'm going to go ahead and grab Rashad Bateman here. We're just going to go straight 7 receivers. Like, we're feeling like we have the QB1, like we have to draft like we're correct. So we feel like we've got the QB1 and Jaden Daniels. At running back, we have the top 2 running backs. That's how you have to think: Devon Achane, Derrick Henry. So, and you can only start 2 every week, 3 if you use the flex on a running back. But we're kind of just saying, hey, these guys are going to get a ton of points every week. And then wide receiver, we're just trying to make sure we need 3 of these every week, 4 if you use it for the flex. So we've given ourselves a lot of options. And when you don't go wide receiver too early, you need to get yourself a little bit of depth there to kind of cover for the fact that we didn't exactly go for the early wide receivers. T-Boner, what a name. Sitting on the clock. What's he going to do? Goes Evan Ingram. I kind of want to look at Evan Ingram a little bit here. Let me pull him up and look over some of his stats. With Evan Ingram, when we look at last year, obviously he's on a new team, but last year he had he was the number 3 tight end once. And other than that, he was a number 10, a number 11, a number 12 week, and that was it. Everything else was outside the top 15. However, he only played in 9 games. He was the 32 ranked tight end last year. If we pretend that last year was a fluke, he was hurt, didn't do much, great. We'll punt that. The year before that, he was the number 2 tight end in PPR scoring. The year before that, he was the number 5. And then he had a couple of other fall-off years. Before that, it was 21, 12, 12. He's got the talent, definitely. It's just a matter of how will Denver use him, and will that be to his benefit? Is Evan Ingram going to be a guy that you feel like is going to really be consistent enough to be drafted where he's going? I don't have a lot of him, but I don't have a problem with where he's going either. My issue is with Evan Ingram, I like to stack my tight ends with my quarterback to increase that ceiling, that value we're talking about. And I'm not getting a lot of Bo Nix, and that's not because I don't like Bo Nix. It's because I hate his receivers. And I really think Denver, I don't know. I'm going to need them to prove me wrong for sure. Fantasy Dog, welcome, brother. Appreciate you being in. And Thanks for the shout out comment the other last night. I appreciate it very much. You are the man, by the way. Hopefully you're having a good Monday. It is Monday, right? Just making sure I'm not losing my mind. My Monday was pretty crazy at work, but that's kind of normal. All right, draft board's coming around. Let's see what is coming back to us here. I think this is probably where we can maybe grab a running back here. And then I think we're going to grab CJ Stroud, pair him up with Jaden Higgins. Nope, he got picked, so we won't be doing that. Then you know what? I have a different idea. We're going to go with plan B. Plan B is Michael Penix at quarterback and Kyle Pitts as their first tight end. That's what plan B is. I was thinking about this yesterday. I started to draft a little bit more of Kyle Pitts, and I was a guy who's been burnt by Kyle Pitts over the years, and I started to want to fade him. Where he's going in drafts, we're sitting here. We just took him and pick 133 in round 12. The risk is so low, and you got these interviews where Penix is featuring Kyle Pitts, making some nice highlight grabs, I guess, in training camp, but take that for what it's worth. But in his interviews, talking about how, he even made the statement, get used to that. We're just going to be a whole lot more than that. Now, of course, he's going to say that. He's pumping up his teammate, wants you to feel good. But I think everybody just wants to see that one Kyle Pitts breakout season. And what if, with this new quarterback, what if this is it? The risk is low, man. So it's worth it. Just keeping it real. I love it. Fantasy Dog, you gotten any drafts in at all today? I know you've drafted a lot of teams so far this year. Didn't know how many you were able to squeeze in today. I think I got in like 3 today before I got on stream. I got into a couple of Pomeranians, and then I got in to one of the flock ones. And I'm thinking after this one, I'm going to get into a Best Ball Mania. I got to make sure I stay ahead of that. I don't want to get to August 28th and I've got 30 Best Ball Manias to do and I'm just ripping them and, maybe not paying attention. Tommy, how are you, sir? Welcome in. Appreciate you joining the stream. You got the 3rd pick this year. Tommy, what's your, when you say your 3rd pick, are you doing a redraft league? How many teams? Is it a PPR league? Give me a little bit of info on your league. Love to get an idea what you're thinking at number 3. I think 3 is a great spot to pick from. You basically guarantee yourself I think there's really 6 guys at the beginning of drafts that if you look at it, we'll scroll to the top. You got Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Bijan, Justin Jefferson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon. I don't think you can go wrong with any of those. And I guess you could even sprinkle in McCaffrey if you really wanted to, but kind of curious about what you're thinking about doing at 3. And then what your league format is. Tommy says redraft 12-man PPR. Yeah. For me in redraft leagues, you've drafted Jefferson 4 straight years. Listen, you can't feel bad about that because he's pretty much been a really good pick. And I love the player in Justin Jefferson. I will say this, though. This is the first year I've actually been scared to take him. Like, I'm still taking him because he's super talented, and now he's got the Achilles thing. It's a little scary. You don't know. I'm not a big J.J. McCarthy guy. I'm not saying that because I don't like that team up north, Michigan. But I don't know. Something just doesn't feel great about it. But hold on 1 second. We are coming back around. I like Algier. We'll just start to fill in our running back room a little bit here, is what I'm thinking. And Austin Eckler will probably be nice to work with here. So kind of pairing up running backs with our quarterbacks. Eckler I like here because of he is the pass catching back. All right, Algier goes. That's fine. He was the guy I really wanted. But let's do you know what? I'm just going to take a shot on a guy I don't get a lot. I'm going to get Jaden Blue here. But Yeah, so I like Jefferson. I really do. I will say this, my opinion, and again, it's just my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right, wrong, and different. When I get into a PPR league, generally speaking, I like to go with the running back, the anchor running back first. It's my preferred way. And at 3, let's just say Jamar Chase is going to go 1. Let's not kid ourselves. But you're either going to get someone's going to take Justin Jefferson probably, or Bijan or Saquon, right? I would just take whatever's left. If it's Bijan, Saquon, or even if you like Jahmyr Gibbs. I prefer Bijan this year over Saquon. So that would be probably my preference. I think he's going to get loaded up with everything. And I don't even think we've seen the ceiling yet for Bijan. So this could be his year to break out. So he's probably my preferred pick at 3. But I think you can't go wrong with anybody you get there. Never drafted a running back first round. That's funny. I used to be more of a wide receiver guy in the first round, and I don't know. I guess I've just kind of changed my take on it. Bears fan here. I'm actually a Browns fan myself, so I struggle a little bit. We're diehard fan bases for sure. Chicago and Cleveland. Gibbs over Saquon could be fun. Yeah, I think Gibbs. I love the talent of Gibbs. He's got the speed. He's got the agility. He just has the juice. There's something about him just not being a full anchor back that I wish he was, because he could definitely be that guy. I don't know. I guess I'm talking myself into it. Really, if you really look at the top guys, I mean, Saquon's really the true anchor. McCaffrey's really the true anchor, right? These guys are true. Derrick Henry are true anchor backs. With Gibbs, you've got Montgomery there. With Bijan, you have our guy that we almost got there. We have Tyler Algier there. So those guys do get reps, and they are talented backs behind them. So it is kind of ironic that, if you're really talking about a true anchor. But I do like Gibbs a lot. He's just a super talented guy. And I want a whole bunch of talented guys on my team. Tommy says he was just in Cleveland in June. Fun town, there for a golf trip. Yeah, I'm a golfer myself. I've only got out in a few times this year, but it's a good time. Love Cleveland. I don't live there anymore. I grew up there, born and raised there. I moved out of there for work about 9-10 years ago now. And, miss it every day. Actually, my parents are flying in to see me this week. They're coming in on Wednesday night. I'm going to grab them at the airport. And so I'm looking forward to having them in town. And we're going to catch the first Browns preseason game on Friday at the house. All right, we're hoping Zach Ertz comes to double stack Jaden Daniels with. Actually, it'll be a triple stack, which, hey, I have no problem with that. And then we're only going to take 5 running backs because we have the double anchor RB build. When we have an elite quarterback in Jaden Daniels, you don't go a third quarterback unless a crazy value comes. So we're not going to need another quarterback. So we'll end up with 3 tight ends here for sure, and 8 wide receivers for sure, because we kind of punted that just a little bit. So we'll grab Zach Ertz here. And then I think the tight ends are going to fall off quicker. So I'm going to grab a tight end that I like here, and just taking chances on guys that I think could have good years. So I'm going to grab Arroyo, the rookie, kind of flashing in camp. So kind of finished out our tight end room. And now we'll see what we can do to finish this off. And then, so this is a Pomeranian draft, a best ball draft. Tommy, have you ever done best ball? Is this your first time kind of looking at a best ball draft? I'm happy to explain it if need be. But I highly recommend it. This is how, if you love drafting fantasy teams, best ball is definitely my recommended way to go. I still do my regular redraft leagues. I have dynasty leagues, been playing it for years, but these best ball drafts are just so much fun. First time seeing it. Yeah. So with best ball, there's no time commitment during the regular season because you draft your team. You don't have to do trades, waiver wires, none of that. So I've drafted over 400 teams this year already. I will draft over 600 by the time, probably over 700 by the time the season starts. And how it works is you draft your teams. The best player plays automatically every week. So if you have, for example, if you're looking at my team, only one quarterback can start. So whoever scores the most points this week, those are the points you get for that player. Running backs, you can start 2, 3 if you use your flex because you get 1 flex. But 2 have to play every week. Wide receiver, you need 3 every week. You can use your flex as 4. You can get a wide receiver as a flex, or tight end, you start 1, and you could use that as a flex. So just kind of breaking this down for you. They're large field tournaments, with large prize pools. Weeks 1 through 14, 2 out of 12 teams will advance. The top 2 will advance. Week 15, 2 out of 10 advance. Week 16, 1 out of 10 advances, and then a 248-seat final. And $20,000 to first place. And this is a little bit of a mid-range tournament with a low buy-in. But even if you get 12,400th place, you still get your money back, right? So it's half PPR scoring, and that's kind of what the roster looks like that I kind of explained. So, but if you like drafting teams, this is definitely the way to do it. How much is buy-in per team? So I'll show you after we finish this draft, because we're going to get into another one. And it varies depending on the tournament you want to get in. And I spread mine out, various buy-ins, various types of tournaments. They're all best ball on Underdog, but it just kind of depends on what you want. Fantasy Dog says, back to our conversation yesterday, even with an elite quarterback and a second quarterback, you'll draft Anthony Richardson as a wild card to possibly help you get through playoffs. Out of 100 plus, make it to the finals. Yeah, listen, if you're going to get a third quarterback when you have an elite one, Anthony Richardson is probably the way to go, just because he's going so late in drafts that it's worth taking a swing on him. But for me, I'd only do that, again, when the value falls, or if I feel really good about where I'm at on the other 3 positions. Like if I want to take an extra dart throw at wide receiver because I think I'm weak there, I'll do that before I take Richardson. It just kind of depends on how you feel. All right, we need another running back. I'm going to sprinkle in some Kareem Hunt here, and then we'll get another receiver and go to 8 because we are a little weaker at receiver. Remember, we got to start 3 every week, 4 if you use the flex. So we need some more shots at a volatile position. And I see the guy I want to do it with. So we're going to do Kareem Hunt as our 5th running back. We'll do Ray McCloud as our 8th wide receiver and be done. So we finished off with Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix at quarterback. Running back, we have Achane, Henry, Austin Eckler, Jaden Blue, Kareem Hunt. At wide receiver, we have Mike Evans, Rome Odunze, Deebo Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Jaden Higgins, Rashid Shaheed, Rashad Bateman, and Ray McCloud. Tight end, we have Kyle Pitts, Zach Ertz, Elijah Arroyo. We did a triple stacks of sorts with Zach Ertz, Deebo, and Austin Eckler stacked up with Jaden Daniels. And then with Michael Penix, we did a double stack with Ray McCloud and Kyle Pitts. So feels good there. Now, Atlanta plays the Rams in week 17, which is the championship week. We don't have any what we call bringbacks there. And then Washington plays Dallas. We do have Jaden Blue from the Cowboys. So technically we have a bringback, although kind of a risky one there. So only an Underdog? No. So there's other sites that do it. I think this is really broken out and became a really massive, best ball is kind of becoming an extremely popular way to draft because so many people, for example, everybody likes to do mock drafts. They're doing it for 2 months and they're free and you're doing all these against people and it doesn't mean anything. You can't get a really good read on actual people who draft teams. And so when you do it this way, it's like a lottery ticket, right? You're throwing in money towards a team that might win you some money, right? And you get to draft while you're doing it. So before you do your regular redraft leagues at the end of August, you draft a handful of these teams or a whole bunch of them, depending on what your budget is and what you want to do. And you can kind of feel out how draft boards are going to go against real players, and you still have a shot for real money. So, but you can do it on other sites. Underdog's my favorite. They have my favorite tournament, and we're going to get into it right now. It's called Best Ball Mania. This is Best Ball Mania 6. So this is the largest best ball fantasy football tournament in the world. 672,672 entrants for this tournament. It's a $25 buy-in. you can enter a maximum of 150 teams into this tournament. So I have already put 90 entries in, and so I've got 60 more I can do. So with this tournament, your pod weeks 1 through 14, 2 out of 12 will advance. Then in weeks 15, you got to beat 12 other teams to advance. And then week 16, you got to be the best out of 16 teams. And then if you get to the 539 seat final, you're getting into some stupid money. $2 million for first, $1 million for second, $500,000 for third. I mean, scrolling on down, just an example. If you finish 112,000, 112th place or better, you're at least getting your money back. So, it's not like you're guaranteed. It's very, very hard, obviously, to get to the finals. But I've had teams there. I've had 2 teams there in 4 years. But it's fun. You got a better chance of winning $2 million here than you do the lottery. So we're going to jump into one here and talk through it some more. Yeah, Fantasy Dog says Underdog's his favorite by far. Yeah, Fantasy Dog is a guy. He's been with us since his channel started, and he does a lot of drafting too on Underdog. Tommy, what's your best finish? So I have never won a tournament. Now let me go back for you real quick because while we're waiting for this one to load. So Best Ball Mania, that's the big one, but there's all different kinds of tournaments. They're all best ball, but some of the styles are different and the buy-ins are different. So let me give an example. Like the big dog here. This one's a $500 entry, but there's only going to be 2,160 entrants total into this contest. So while it's a bigger buy-in, right, there's less teams in it. And so, $200,000 for first place, $100,000 for second. So there's different types of tournaments, and they will come and go. So like this Pomeranian I just did was a $3 entry. There's going to be 74,000 entrants into this tournament, $20,000 to first place. When this one fills, they'll put in another one. It might be the puppy. It might be a $5 entry or a $4 entry. Here's the Husky too. It's a little smaller, 10 entry max, $40 entry. 11,000 people will be in this one. And there's some different random ones, right? There's a charity one. There's just different types of leagues that come up. Oh, sorry. Let me load up our draft here. So this is Best Ball Mania. This is a draft where we're trying to win $2 million. So I will take you along for the ride on this one. We've got pick 7, which is a nice place to be. Fantasy Dog says way better odds than the lottery. Yeah, man, absolutely. So while I haven't won a tournament, I have finished well in a lot of tournaments. And so this is not meant to necessarily be a brag, but so I've been doing best ball for over 4 years. Been doing a lot of regular fantasy drafts like most people have years before that. In the last 4 years, drafting here on Underdog, different amounts of teams, I've won and profited, outside of my buy-ins, profited over $10,000 each year. Now, I draft more teams than your average player will, but you work within your budget, and I tell people like, hey, listen, if you only got $200 to spend towards fantasy football, then maybe you throw one team into this Best Ball Mania, and then you get into things like that Pomeranian or the puppy, these little $5, $3 buy-ins, and you do a bunch of teams there, where you can spend that money there and draft a bunch of teams. And when you redraft teams or leagues come along with your friends, you are way better prepared we'll take Christian McCaffrey here at 7, but you'll be way better prepared because you'll have seen how drafts flow with real players. They're not just mock drafters. These are guys that are going to do real life things because you're going against real life players. Freaking incredible. I love it, Fantasy Dog. Thank you, man. And I'm only sharing that with you. I try not to say, oh, this guy's got it all figured out. I don't. If I had it all figured out and had a crystal ball, we'd have won millions by now, right? But I'm just a guy who really loves fantasy football. I love sports in general. And I like drafting teams. I'm going to draft either way, whether I'm doing it on here or if I'm doing it on my own. And I figured, you know what? Hey, somebody 4 years ago helped me learn about best ball drafting. And I still to this day watch their YouTube channel on occasion. And they inspired me to do it. And I have a blast. So if I can help somebody else, then I'm doing right by the community, and we're building up the fantasy football community. We're building up best ball. We're building up underdog, and that feels like I'm serving a purpose. So that's kind of why I'm here. It's kind of a passion project, right? All right, so coming around, the draft's pretty normal. So this is kind of what you're going to see 1 through 12 for the most part. Things get a little unique when you get through 10 through, at the back end of the first round, because people value people differently here. But the first 8 or 9 picks are pretty standard. Usually Neighbors goes before Collins. So with best ball, there's different strategies people take. I don't force a strategy. I like to take values that come to me and make them work as we go. And so I know what I wanted. So I wanted London there because he was kind of the faller. His average draft position is 15. He went at 17. We're going to take A.J. Brown. I love A.J. Brown. Still think he's a great pick where he's going. Last year, he was a round 1 pick, and now we're getting him in round 2. I think Philadelphia, the reason he's going in round 2 is because Philly ran the ball a ton last year. And even if they throw the ball just a little bit more, which I think they're going to do this year, they want to prove that they can win through the air, not just on the back of Saquon, then he's a very big value in round 2 of drafts. You're definitely helping me. I plan to help you back up. Hey, man, I appreciate it. I love positive vibes. Again, I don't have a crystal ball here. I'm just trying to help out where I can. So, Tommy, I'm kind of, going to continue to just kind of share a little bit about my strategy here on this, and I'll just kind of talk through some of it. There's so much I could cover. I have a bunch of other live videos that I've done since I've started this channel that cover different things, from draft strategies to my player takes to team reviews, etc. And, would encourage you to watch those and throw some likes and support the channel. But one thing I'll tell you is my favorite draft strategy this year, and actually it's been proven over the last 3 years to be one of the strongest, is what's called anchor running back. Anchor running back is classified by saying, hey, I'm getting in the first or second round, I'm getting a running back, and then I'm not getting another running back till probably after round 5. That's saying, hey, this guy is going to be on my anchor. I only need to start 2 every week, could start 3, but this guy's going to lock it down. He's the running back 1. You're kind of banking on him to be a guy. And then I follow that up with, kind of a sub strategy called wide receiver avalanche, meaning I don't want to lose out on the wide receiver talent because I have to start 3, if not 4 every week. So I don't want the tier of wide receivers to drop off too quickly. So I lose out on them. So I start to pile in on the wide receivers in the next few rounds. So like here, I'm going to do either Garrett Wilson or JSN here. I do like Devontae Adams, but I feel like I've been getting a lot of Garrett Wilson lately. So when you see Garrett Wilson here, ADP of 28, that's his average draft position. We're getting here pick 31. It's not a huge value, but ADP does matter especially earlier in drafts, because the draft boards go pretty consistently in the first few rounds for the most part. The more ADP you can get, the more unique your teams get. So example, Jamar Chase always goes at pick 1, right? And almost every draft. So he's always on the left side of the board, we'll call it. Brock Bowers, for example, usually goes in the middle or early second. So I've gotten him on a team where Brock Bowers falls all the way to pick 24. So now he's on the same team with my Jamar Chase team. That's going to be a little more rare because he usually doesn't make it that far. So even though it's only 4 picks past where his average goes, 4 or 5 picks, it gives you an advantage, because when we have 672,000 teams in here. I want my team to be unique, but I don't want to sacrifice my average draft position to do it. So it's really a math game than anything. Let me make this next pick here, and then I'll catch up on those comments. So like looking at ADP here, Breece Hall's a faller, right? ADP of 34. We could get him at 42. Nope, he goes there. I really didn't want him anyway, but that's not because of his value. It's just because of where I'm at on player takes. I think I could go Kittle. Nope. I was going to see if we can double stack San Francisco. That's not going to work. We're going to go Tet McMillan. I like Mike Evans. I like Tet McMillan. I don't think there's anything wrong with either one of these guys. But I'm going to take the young rookie with upside on a team that might get a little bit better versus Mike Evans, where I think he's on a fine position. But I think that we don't know what Tet's ceiling is yet because he's a rookie. And I think we've seen the best of Mike's days. And, I think he's got a good floor. But when I'm trying to win $2 million, I want guys where we don't know what their ceiling is, right? I don't think Mike Evans will be the wide receiver 1 this year overall. But I do think he could. Tet McMillan we don't know what his upside is, so could he be? Maybe he's that good. Tommy says, you might have created a monster here. I'm definitely going to play this style. This is sick. Yeah, man, honestly, the first time I played this and I jumped into Underdog, played a couple drafts, and obviously I had no idea what I was doing, right? I'm just trying to listen to guys like me, smarten me up because there are teams in here and people that don't know what they're doing. And there's even players that have been doing this forever and they still screw it up. And here, I'm going to give you an example. Look at Jaybird here in pick 3 hole. He goes running back, quarterback, running back. Here's the problem and why this usually doesn't work. Can it win? Yes. Is it suboptimal? Yes. And here's why. You can only start, obviously you can start the 3 running backs. You start 1 quarterback. That's fine. But what I mentioned earlier was there's a wide receiver fall off of talent. You have to start 3 wide receivers no matter what every week. You can start up to 4 because the flex could play. And there's going to be a serious drop-off of talent after round 5 and then another drop-off after round 7. So he's going to start every week. He's going to start guys like maybe, Jacoby Myers, Stephon Diggs. They're not too bad, but then you're going to start to drop off. And then is he going to start Darnell Mooney every week, or Keon Coleman every week? You'd rather be starting at least a couple of guys that are, a little more talented every week. So he's really digging. He's got to dig himself out of a hole. It can happen. It's just a lot less likely to happen. All right. Let's see what comes back around. Sutton goes, love it. I'm kind of torn between Flowers and Travis Hunter, but I really like Zay Flowers. Wide receiver 1 on a good offense. He did an interview earlier this season where he went and talked about how he plans to run more go routes and wants to go more downfield. And that's my kind of team. Baltimore loves to be a run first team. And then when they're not running, they're slinging it downfield. So he's the kind of player where he's not going to necessarily be a guy who catches, 6 passes for, 62 yards every week. He's going to have 1 week where he catches 3 passes for 24 yards. And then the next week he could catch 8 passes for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns, right? I want guys with huge ceilings. So I love guys like that. Tommy says, so this is a lobby of 12 teams. Is it put into a pool, or do you compete against these 12 and then move on? Great question. So no, the teams that you're drafting against in here are most likely not even who you're going to actually see in the tournament. You can see them, but you're not guaranteed to start against anybody. It's a randomly put together. So you're going to be in a pool of 12 teams to start, but it could be any 12 teams. So you could be in a pool where, let's say, like here, we drafted CMC at 7. We could be in a room of 12 teams that all of them drafted CMC. And some of them got him at 7, some got him at 9, some got him at 5, some got him at 12. I mean, you don't know who's going to be in there and what players they might have drafted. So we're going to get DeAndre Swift. I'm big into Swift. He's a pass catching running back on an offense that could go up. He's reunited with Ben Johnson, did pretty well with Ben Johnson. I just think DeAndre Swift's super talented, and I don't think we've seen his ceiling yet. The other thing I like about this is Chicago and San Francisco have a Week 17 bring back. So I like having them, and I'll explain bringbacks in another video. But yeah, now the one thing I will say, if you read the rules really closely in these tournaments on Underdog, some people have asked, hey, if I draft 150 teams like I'm going to in Best Ball Mania, can I have teams that end up playing against each other? So the short answer is no. not initially. You won't be in your initial pod with yourself and other teams. However, if you happen to advance a whole bunch of teams later on, it's possible that they can hit each other in the playoffs or in the finals, but it is extremely unlikely that you have enough teams to get that far where you're going to have that happen. And over the last 4 years, I've drafted hundreds of teams and they've never been in the same bracket with each other. So that won't happen. All right. So the other thing about best ball that I find fun is, there's so many different variations. Like you could say, oh, AJ Brown goes off and I've got AJ Brown. That's great. Well, there's thousands of other teams that also have AJ Brown. So you need to kind of put together the perfect team, right? And you don't know what that's going to be, but there are ways that data has shown that are best ways to construct your teams to give yourself the best chance of winning, and have that highest odds. So it just kind of depends on how you like to draft teams. I kind of wanted Ibuka there, but we're not going to get him. All right, so it was going to be Laporta or Reed for me. I'm just going to say thanks for making our decision easy, and we'll get Laporta as our first tight end. I really like how this team's starting out. Pretty well balanced start, and then we'll try and correlate some quarterbacks with our pass catchers here. So, and Tommy, feel free to keep asking questions as you need to. So one thing I'll share about correlations here that's a little different than redraft leagues. In a regular redraft league, you're only starting a couple receivers every week, maybe 3 if you get a flex in there. It's still semi-optimal to get a quarterback and stack him with one pass catcher. Like if you, in your redraft league, you have Jalen Hurts, and, you might want to get Devonta Smith, because if Hurts goes off and Smith goes off, they're going off together, which increases your ceiling, right? In best ball, it's almost mandatory that you do that. It's not fully mandatory. You don't need to overstack, but 1 or 2 pass catchers is optimal to draft on your teams with your quarterbacks, because you're trying to win money. And example I'll give you, going back to what I said before, if Jalen Hurts gets, it crushes this year and you have him, that's great. But there's going to be a whole bunch of other teams that have Jalen Hurts, thousands of them. And if you get to the Best Ball Mania finals, for example, and there's 539 other teams, and 150 of them have Jalen Hurts like you do, you want to have his pass catcher. So if he goes off and is the guy that you need to win, he's going to bring at least 1 or 2 of those guys with him. And if you have them and they don't, your ceiling goes up and they don't. So, I've had it happen to me where, hold on one second. I'm going to do another share of Jaden Higgins here, another rookie piece here. But if, I've had teams where I had guys that went nuclear, but I didn't have the stack, and other teams did, and they knocked me out, right? They knocked me out of the money because, oh my God, there was a 50-point game from Jalen Hurts. But guess what? Because he had a 50-point game, AJ Brown had a 60-point game, but I didn't have AJ Brown. So the team that had AJ Brown knocked me out. So stacking your quarterback with at least 1 or 2 pass catchers matters. I like to grab 1 wide receiver and 1 tight end is my kind of more optimal way to do it. You can grab a running back to stack with them too. It's not terrible, especially if they're pass catching running backs. But that kind of increases your upside, because when you're playing this, I'm not playing to just draft it and throw away $25. I'm playing to try and win $2 million. So I need to maximize my upside. I either want to lose or I want to win $2 million. That's it. Now, obviously, you can win a lot of money in between there, and teams can get through and, not get to the finals and still win you money. And that's what's happened to me. I've won over $10,000 every year, but I've never won a tournament. So anything can happen in these drafts. All right, so we're getting to the point where we can start looking for options on some quarterbacks. So some of them have already started to be taken. We may eye up Goff down here to pair with Laporta. Now, we're not going to reach too early because we do have outs. Carolina, his quarterback goes later. Houston goes later. So we'll wait and see if Goff comes around to us when the time comes. And we'll keep strengthening our team here. I think I'm going to queue up maybe a running back. I like Mooney, but I'm waiting to get more information about his injury. I just want to see another update before I feel good about taking Mooney. Or I want him to drop more. Brooke goes Ingram, so we can go ETN or Dobbins. Denver plays Kansas City. We don't have any Kansas City. Jacksonville plays Indianapolis Colts. We don't have either of those yet, so it doesn't really matter. But we'll just take the better of the ADP value. We'll take Travis Etienne. He's the faller. Normally at 98, we get him at 103. And now we're 9 picks away, and very likely that Jared Goff comes around to stack up with Sam Laporta. We don't have to do that, but that kind of looks like what I might want to do to grab my first quarterback. Time to go to bed. Awesome video. Just sub 2. Cheers, man. Hey, thanks very much. I'm going live, every night, probably from 10 p.m. to midnight, every night that I can. Hit the notification bell. You'll be notified. You can draft with me if you'd like. In my description below, I have the link to Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Perfect216 when you deposit. And then come draft live with us. It'll be a lot of good time, and just share your takes. Let us know what you're thinking too, because we can learn from you, man. Thanks for checking in. Fantasy Dog says, I'm listening and drafting a palm. Just saying. Nice. Let's see if you can win that palm, brother. I appreciate the love. Again, I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate the love and support, Fantasy Dog. You've been with me pretty much since the beginning so far, and we're building this together. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take Jared Goff, stack him up here with Sam Laporta. Now, Detroit plays Minnesota in Week 17. Week 17, I really – there's a video, and I'm going to try and drop it maybe in the comment box if I can find it and the link to that video. It's not a video I've done. It's another streamer that's done it a couple years ago, and it says Week 17 is all that matters. And that's the fantasy football finals, and correlation between who plays each other. It kind of gives you another little boost, and some people believe in it, some people don't. But so when I say I'm looking for Minnesota players, if they fall to me, it's because they play Detroit in Week 17, which would be the finals week. And if I have Jared Goff and Sam Laporta, and that was a high-scoring game, I want some Minnesota players to correlate with them, right? So that's why I talk about Week 17 matters. You want to have a little bit of – ideally, you want to have some correlation. It's not a requirement. There are teams that have won Best Ball Mania, and they did not have that Week 17, but it does kind of give you a little bit of upside. I don't know, Fantasy. I got to tell you, I appreciate the love. You bring a lot of positive attitude and a lot of positive juice to the stream, and I very much appreciate that. We need more positivity in the world, my man. We really, really do. All right, so here's what I'm thinking. Where do I pick after this? 138. So I'm thinking about trying to double stack our Houston situation here. And I feel like I could be missing a better play, but I'm going to do it and see if CJ Stroud comes back around to us. And then we'll do a double stack with Higgins and Kirk with CJ Stroud. That could be a nice, fun connection there if we can make that happen. Sorry, I'm just pulling one thing up on my phone. Bear with me real quick. Oops, that's not what I'm looking for. I was just pulling up, so I have a kind of a cheat sheet. Houston Texans play the Chargers in Week 17, and I do not have any Chargers currently on the payroll of this team. So I again don't need the bringbacks, but it'd be nice. So if anything falls, it'll help us out. Brandon says, what tournament are you drafting in right now? Oh, you know what? I'm actually in a Best Ball Mania tournament. I need to change my banner. Let me do that real quick. It figures I wait till like almost Best Ball Mania. I did this last time too. There we go. Best Ball Mania. So we're in a Best Ball Mania trying to win $2 million. I did a Pomeranian before this one, and so I left that banner the same. I appreciate you calling that out. All right. Board swinging around. So Stroud didn't make it back. It's fine. We just play it as it lies, right? That's what they say. It's a golf expression. I still really, really like how our team is coming together. I really, really do. I'm going to reach just a little bit here on Trey Benson. So with Trey Benson, I shared yesterday that there was a interview done with James Conner, who's going rounds earlier, where Conner is saying that Trey Benson is probably going to be, it's like the 1A, 1B. They're both starters. And he's even made suggestions that Benson is going to take over as the lead back and, in that locker room. And when the incumbent starter is saying that, look out, this guy's put on more muscle. He's, a killer. He's going to be, we're splitting the duties. Like, give me the guy on a team that could be a good offense, who's also a better pass catcher. That's kind of up and coming. Give me that guy rounds later than where Connor's going. So I think Trey Benson may end up being one of my most drafted running backs late in rounds, just because of, kind of the vibes around him. I've been grinding Pomeranians. Can't believe it's almost full. Got like 30 more drafts left. Dude, you're definitely killing it. If you got 30 more to go on Pomeranians, what's the max on this one? I didn't even look. Is it 50 for the Pomeranians? I've only managed to get in a handful of them so far. I did like 3 or 4 today. I only streamed 1 tonight, but I'm over 400 plus drafts total so far. We'll take a look after this and see how many I'm in overall. But the problem is even if I want to max draft these smaller ones, unless I do slow drafts, which I don't like to be doing slow drafts unless I accidentally stumble into them, it's hard to draft enough before they close, right? Like, people are just all over these smaller ones, and I get it because they're more affordable, but they just close so quickly and makes it hard to get into as many drafts as I'd probably like to. I'm going to go after Bryce Young here to pair him up with Ted McMillan. I don't have Seattle for a bring back, but again, that's not the only thing that matters. It just would be nice. Although I personally have a strong value in week 17 and the correlations there. I do think that I'm just trying to maximize my teams. Fantasy, you know about fantasy football in Canton, don't you? You definitely need to be there. Just saying. I don't. What am I missing in Canton, Fantasy Dog? I mean, obviously Canton Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm from Ohio. I've been to Canton, but I feel like I'm missing something there. You're gonna have to enlighten me. Oh, the Fantasy Football Expo. I didn't know there was a full expo for it. Brandon said max slows I had was 20 and wasn't for me. I'll stick to fast. Yeah, I get into some slows when, like, if there's a tournament that I've got no exposures of, and I want to get some, I'll throw them in just so I have some. Or I get into slows by accident because sometimes does this little glitch when tournaments get ready to closing and they're filling too fast and they turn off the 20 or 30 second clocks, and all of a sudden they're all slow drafts, and I don't catch it. I just click on it thinking it's still a fast draft, and all of a sudden I'm in a slow draft. I don't know. It's crazy. Crazier things. Get you in for yeah, Fantasy Dog. I didn't know there was one. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, there's Comic-Cons and expos for everything these days. So why wouldn't there be a something for fantasy football, at this point? It just seems to make sense. I feel like we're kind of overloading on Houston. I don't know if I want to do that now. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go Hunter Henry here. I don't have a ton of him, but I do like him on an ascending offense. Hunter Henry does correlate with Garrett Wilson from a week 17 standpoint, so it's not terrible. just to have a little bit of something there. It did kind of come back to bite me a little bit here because I took both of the Houston guys back to back, hoping that we'd, you got to take chances in this. If you want to win, you got to take some risks, and it could still be fine, right? So, one thing I'll say is like doing these streams is kind of a lot of fun because you meet a mix of players and where they're at in their fantasy football journey. You've got people that have never even heard of best ball, like we were talking about with Tommy earlier, who just like drafting their teams and, obviously are in on fantasy football. Then you've got guys like me and Fantasy Dog who been doing it for a few years now and draft hundreds of teams. It's a nice variety. And even those that have drafted a lot, there's different takes on players, different strategies people like, and it just keeps the environment fun. And so I just hope that, there's so much talk. I don't know if you guys saw, there's some laws that got passed that are kind of threatening gambling in general and betting and sports betting. And I don't know that fantasy football will be as immediately affected. Definitely not for this year, but I think you can see next year because there's something going to be with taxes, right? Where you could end up paying taxes on the bets you made, even if you didn't win. And that's something y'all should look into because that would kind of suck, right? To, be putting into money in something and then, you didn't even win and you still owe money. So I don't know what that's going to look like yet because they really haven't announced it, but there's definitely some risk there. But, I want to keep growing this. I want to make it a popular thing. And if I can help with that, that's great. It brings me a lot of joy. Obviously, you guys love it too. So I'm going to grab Sam Darnold here and get a third quarterback. I don't feel a lot of love here. And Seattle does stack with Carolina. So I can maybe try and build out a little bring back here. We're 8 picks away. And I know enough because I've drafted so much on how I can build back a little stack on Seattle to go with the Carolina one. So we can keep the bring backs going. Fantasy Doc says, you were talking about slows, so I checked my accidental slow. Took Kamara at 19. Yikes. Listen, last night you took Kamara in the draft that we were in together, and you pulled him a little early there too. You got him at 49, I think you pulled him. And I think you said it was a panic pick. So I guess there's worse guys to panic pick, right? But I don't know that I'd be just jumping for joy that I grabbed too much Alvin Kamara. Feels like not the guy I want to accidentally click at some of those earlier picks, right? But Kamara's been a fantasy football monster for years, and he still puts up numbers. I think at some point he'll fall off, but who knows? The guy can keep catching the ball in the backfield. That's a lot of value there in fantasy football. Well, let's just call it what it is. All right, so we're going to get Arroyo here as our third tight end. He stacks with with Sam Darnold. And so we've kind of rescued the stacking here with our quarterbacks. We did stack Carolina. We did stack Detroit. We did stack Seattle with at least one pass catcher. So we're good. We're done at tight end. We're done at quarterback. We will get one more running back and one more wide receiver, and we'll be done with this team. We just need to kind of see what's going to fall to us and kind of take some shots. You like your Kamara. Yeah. You know what? Kamara, it's funny. So last year, I was a guy who basically said, hey, don't draft Kamara. And I had so little of him. Now, it didn't really hurt me, but he had a decent year. Let me pull him up. Let's talk about it. Let's look at his stats real quick from last year. And let's look at the history. So last year, let's see how many big finishes. I mean, look at this. So he had a week 6 finish or 6th ranked running back. He had a week 1, a week 4, 13, 3, 11, 12. So he had some solid finishes there. He sprinkled in some 14, 15. So he wasn't a bad pick. I mean, when you look at the year overall, he was the 9th ranked running back in PPR scoring, and he only had a 73% snap share. And it really comes down to how much he gets in the passing game, and that's what really does it for him. I mean, he only got 6 rushing touchdowns, but if he stumbles in and gets a couple more, his value just goes up. So I don't hate him. It's amazing to me how consistent he's been over the years. His worst finish ever was 16. That was 3 years ago. 2 years ago, he finished 11th, and then last year was 9th. He just defies the typical laws of aging running backs, right? Like, he's out of his quote unquote peak, but the guy still, puts stuff together. You know what? I know what I want to do with this. Let's see if he's still here. I'm going to get Jalen Nailor here. And just for the fact that Minnesota plays Detroit, we'll throw that in there for the bring back. And Nailor should get some time, especially when you've got, you've got a risk of Jefferson with the Achilles. You have the suspension looming, there. And now you've got I think it's a groin injury that is being nursed by Hawkinson. So there's a path for Nailor to really have a great year. And so we'll put him in there. And then running back. I just want to find a guy that I don't take a ton of. You know what? In honor of your New Orleans Saints love for Kamara, I'm going to get a guy that I've clicked a little bit more in round 18 than probably most, and that's Kendre Miller. I think he's a very talented back who just can't stay healthy, or in the beginning of his rookie year had a little bit of an attitude problem, but the dude's got some talent. The dude's got some juice. We'll see if this year he actually shows it on the field, and if Kamara does finally hit that cliff, then hello, Kendre Miller in the round 18. He becomes pretty useful. Kellen Moore for sure. Yeah, Kellen Moore's had some good offenses. So, yeah. Winston to the Saints would put me where I want. So my man Jameis, that guy his interviews are so funny, Jameis Winston. He makes me laugh. We had him on the Browns last year, and he's a whole vibe, man. He's a whole vibe. And I mean that in a good way, for sure. All right, we'll take Kendre Miller. We'll recap this team, and then I'm feeling pretty good. I still got some energy. I think if you guys are sticking around, I will do one more draft. You tell me what you want. If you want Best Ball Mania, Pomeranian, if it's still open, or something else. So I got Jared Goff, Bryce Young, Sam Darnold quarterback, Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift, Travis Etienne, Trey Benson, Kendre Miller running back. Wide receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Ted McMillan, Zay Flowers, Jaden Higgins, Christian Kirk, Jalen Nailor at wide receiver. And then tight end, we got Sam Laporta, Hunter Henry, and Elijah Arroyo. Not a terrible team. We made it work. We pulled it out. I think it could win. It's a pretty well-balanced team. It's not my favorite team. Didn't get any crazy values. Not crazy unique, but we made it work. So I do not hate this team. Polly. All right. Sounds good. Let me pull that up, and I'll give you a little bit of a countdown so that way. He said Polly. I think we meant Palm. He said Polly. That's funny. Is there something called Polly in here? Am I missing something here? I think you mean Pomeranian, right? All right. We'll do Pomeranian. I'll count you down. So there's a 5 to 7 second, just so you know, like a lag on YouTube. So when you see me click, you got to click pretty quickly. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're in it. And let's see if y'all snuck in. Wow, that filled fast. It's like instantly waiting. Oh, all right. It's making me refresh my own thing. Let's see if any of you guys got in there. Did you guys sneak into this one at all? I mean, it filled like insta-filled. If any of you guys are in here, let me know what draft spot you got. And we'll talk about it. Christian, welcome in. Christian says, I have a quick question on who you think I should draft in my dynasty startup. Fantastic. So where are you picking in your dynasty startup? And then how many teams? Is it super flex? And is it PPR? Give me a little bit of information on your league, and I absolutely will be happy to give you my opinion on that. And then just as a comment on dynasties, obviously when you're doing a dynasty, most people, that means you're probably doing it with friends. You probably have a little bit of an in on, what your buddies like to do, who players they like, and, they may take them out of turn. So my advice always, and when you're drafting with friends or people that is don't let what your friends do or bully you into not taking smart ADP picks. Like, just take what falls to you, and you're more likely to win than if you're trying to outsmart your friends. Like, let them make the mistakes and take the values that come to you is like the best piece of advice for redraft or dynasty I could ever give anyone. Christian's at the 101, already drafted Jamar and Drake London. You have the option to draft Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride, Bucky Irving, AJ Brown, Omarion Hampton, JSN, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, etc. Wow. So you've got a lot there. Is this a single quarterback league or is this super flex? 10-player league. Yeah, let me know if it's super flex or not. Obviously, if it was super flex, I would imagine everybody would be gone already. So it must be single quarterback. Single quarterback, 2 flex spots. So is it just me or is my thing stuck here? Hold on. I think I'm stuck. Oh my gosh. Look, it did it again. Hold on. Y'all seeing this? It jumped me into a 8-hour Palm. Yeah, I'm in a slow draft too. Look, I'm in the same thing. Are you in here, Brandon? Are we in the same one? We're both in a slow draft. I'm going to back up and we're going to try this again. Let me see if I can relaunch this one. I hate when that happens. Yeah, look, it did it. It's all slow drafts all of a sudden. This is what I was talking about earlier. It just kind of tricked us into getting stuck into a slow draft. That is so nutty when it does that. It doesn't feel good either. And like in 30 minutes from now, all of a sudden it'll be back to normal. I don't get it at all. I'm going to try and refresh. And if it doesn't work, then yeah, I guess I'm going to get into another one. Do you, if you're interested, do you want to do this MMG's Best Ball League? This is a $5 buy-in. If you want to do that one, we could do that. Or we can do a Best Ball Mania. You guys, you tell me. If you still want to try and get into another one, just let me know, and we can. I can try and crash that one. MMG, okay. All right, let me get into this, and then I got to get back to Christian's question here. I owe him an answer. All right, this one's actually got slow. So $5 entry. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Waiting on 6 spots, so you should be able to get in this one with us. I'm assuming we'll be able to get in here together. So Christian, going back to yours. So now that we know it's one quarterback. So here's the thing. When you're in a 10-team league and it's only single quarterback, you're going to have quarterback options. So it's not necessarily as valuable per se to get like any of the crazy quarterbacks. I think you need to look at the uniqueness of certain, where are you going to get your advantages from, right? If it's me, like I'm not a Bucky guy, so I would tell you no on Bucky. AJ Brown, he's fine, but he's a little older. You already have 2 good young wide receivers. You've got, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. They're on the Jets. Are not a great offense. I think if it's me, I'm either going Marvin Harrison or Trey McBride. So I would probably, I guess, or Hampton. I'm sorry, just realizing him. I would probably go Hampton. Would be my pick because you've already got Jamar and Drake London, and you're going to get years out of those guys. McBride would be a really nice pick. When you're in a 10-team league, you kind of have that. You can get an advantage by taking a tight end that everybody else, can't get to those kinds of weeks, right? If you're starting one every week, and there's not that many elite tight ends. So yeah, I'm probably going Hampton. If you don't want to do running back, and you want to keep pounding away at pass catchers, then I'd probably go McBride. My favorite guy in drafts this year is Marvin Harrison for best ball because of his value where he's going. But I just believe in his talent. Like, I actually wish if I was doing your draft over again, if I were you, I would take Jamar Chase at 101 probably. But then instead of getting London, I probably would have gotten a running back there, depending on what was left on your board. And then I would have gotten Marvin Harrison as my second wide receiver. I'd rather have Harrison over Drake London. That would just be me. Fantasy Dog says, I'm in. Oh, I'm at 108. Where are you at, my friend? Oh, you're at the 12. I like it. Brandon, did you get in this thing? Hey, happy to help, Christian. Listen, I hope I help at all. Listen, I'm just a guy who loves fantasy football drafts, been doing this a long time. I will say, when I give answers, I usually do it based on data and things that I've looked at. So I'm not just pulling out of my butt either. I would probably lean towards Harrison just because I love his profile and he's obviously younger, got a longer runway. But that doesn't mean he's the right pick, right? I don't think you can go wrong with some of the choices you have. And you have so much flexibility in a 10-team dynasty because you're not really going to get boxed out at any position, if that makes sense. Brandon in here with us at the 107. All right, my man, we're gonna grind it out. So you went with McCaffrey. No worries. I'm going to take my favorite wide receiver in this range. I'm going to skip over Puka, and I'm going to take Malik Neighbors. For those of you that haven't watched my streams before, when you look here at the back half of drafts, I love Malik Neighbors over the other wide receivers in this range. So he's just my preference. Year 2 receiver, heavy target earner. Offense was already terrible, and he still did good. If they get any better at all, which how bad? I mean, they can only go up, right? He falls in the end zone a few more times. He's just going to be a dominant fantasy football player. Fantasy Dog says Marvin Harrison Jr. greater than London. Strong take. Yeah, and listen, I want to be clear. I love London too. I really think he's going to continue to progress. I just have I feel a higher ceiling for Marvin Harrison for a longer period of time than I think London's going to have. But that's just me. Brandon, I cannot promise I won't snipe your picks, my man. But what I will tell you is, because you're right next to me, I am going to avoid giving you too much information until after I make my picks. That way I don't give you the opportunity to take my players, my friend. So we're going to get one of my so speaking of London, he's going to join my team here. And hopefully I didn't just snipe your first guy, Mr. Brandon. AJ Brown. Yeah, we're talking Dynasty Fantasy Dog. Yeah, he was asking a Dynasty start. It's a startup draft for him too. So, Christian, is this I don't know if you're still here, Christian, is this your first Dynasty draft that you're doing? Have you ever been in a Dynasty draft before? And then what we're doing here, if you don't know, is best ball drafting. If you're not familiar with that, I did go over that earlier in the video. I generally cover that every video at the beginning of every video to kind of explain at least briefly what best ball drafting is. You can always, rewatch this video later, or really any of my videos. They may not cover every strategy, but it will at least cover the basis of what best ball is, so you can kind of get an idea. All right. Let's see what you guys did to start. Fancy Dog, you went Derrick Henry at 12, Amon-Ra at 13. Balanced start right there. Brandon, you went CMC and AJ Brown. Listen, feels good, right? Trying to see if anything crazy's happened so far. I mean, I guess Corey there went Genty at 9. That feels a little early for Genty these days. Although, back in April and May, people were taking him at 5, 6, and 7. And, I'll raise my hand. I'm guilty. So I took him there too. I jumped on the Genty train. I'm still on it. Just not in the first round. At least not anymore. All right, let's see what's going to come around. Normally I'd queue up some players. However, with my man Brandon there, I don't want to give too much information away just yet. But there's definitely a couple things we'd like to do here. Adams goes at 29, Harrison 28, Josh Allen goes at 30. Brandon goes Garrett Wilson. I like it. No problem with it at all. I'm going to go ahead and take Lamar Jackson and get our elite quarterback locked down. I've taken a good amount of Garrett Wilson over the last week. It's kind of crazy. I unintentionally get players a lot in a short period of time, and then all of a sudden they're gone and I don't see him again. It's just weird how that works. So this week has kind of been a Garrett Wilson week for me, where he just seems to fall. I don't know if you guys were on here. I had a draft, I think it was like 3 days ago, where I ended up getting a absolutely disgusting start in Best Ball Mania, and it didn't fully go the way I wanted, but it definitely has the capabilities of winning Best Ball Mania. I had Justin Jefferson, who fell to 6. Then I had Derrick Henry come back behind him at 19. And then after that, I had Garrett Wilson come by at 30. And so it just, some guys, you just don't normally get those 3 in the same place. So it was a little bit of a rare start for sure. And then I got George Kittle to come back for the 4th round. Fantasy Dog, we went Mike Evans, then McLaurin goes 38, Kittle goes 39, Metcalf 40. So we're sitting here at 41. Plenty of guys I like here. I've been getting a lot of Tet. Let me sprinkle in some Xavier Worthy here. He seems to be rising with all this Rashee Rice stuff going on. I do think Worthy's going to rise more when they announce Rashee Rice's suspension time, and Rashee Rice will plummet, and I'll get him at the bottom when he hits rock bottom, wherever he falls to in ADP. And then I want to get some Worthy now before people go, oh, Rashee Rice is suspended. Let me go draft a bunch of him in the 2nd round or something crazy like that. So I definitely want to get some Worthy in now, and I've got some, but I want to get some more. Bijan, CMC, Gibbs, Gentry, HN are my top 5 RBs heading into the season, avoiding Saquon at all costs, in my opinion. Yeah. I think any of these at cost are fine. I even like Saquon. I'm definitely not avoiding him. I want a mixture of all of them, right? I don't think I can see upside in every single one. I can also see different risks in probably every single one, right? CMC, you got injury risk. Gibbs, how much are they going to throw? Their offensive coordinators changed. Is Montgomery fully healthy? Bijan, what if they throw more? What if their offense just sucks with their quarterback? Gentry, what if he doesn't get all the work? What if their offense is terrible? What if he doesn't do what we think is a rookie? And then Achane, I don't know. Achane just seems too good to not pop off, and especially when you can get him in the 2nd round. But I like all of them. So there's risk with all, I guess, to some extent, but I like all 6. And Saquon, other than the Madden curse, and I think that, and I do think that the Eagles are going to throw more this year. I don't believe in the Madden curse, but I still like Saquon. Fantasy Dog says Rice might get 10 to 12 game suspension, unprecedented 10 felonies, heard from an analyst. Yeah, I mean, that would be crazy if he gets a 10 to 12 game suspension. He will absolutely plummet. I've pretty much stopped taking Rice in my drafts right now. I'm going to wait and let him collapse. And when the collapse happens, I'll just, again, sit here and be here to say thank you. Because if that's where his ADP closes out, you want to try and get benefits on closing line value. And so if Rice ends up finishing much later in drafts, I want to get him at his, at the lowest point to increase the chances of him being valuable to me. Unfortunately, I got him in the 2nd round in some drafts before anybody knew about this, and not a ton of them, but I did get some. All right, I got sniped by Zakwizak over there. Took my guy to pair with Lamar, but that's okay. We didn't need him because we got plenty of other options. And you know what? I'm actually going to keep this whole wide receiver train rolling with Travis Hunter. And we are officially in a 0 RB team when you go 4 wide receivers and a quarterback through 5 rounds. So let's build one out. It's going to make us some money. Brandon goes CMC, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Ted McMillan, Jalen Waddle. My kind of team, Brandon. It's my preferred build. It's the anchor RB build with a wide receiver avalanche. It's definitely my favorite way to draft. So love the start for you, sir. Fantasy Dog, Henry, Amon-Ra, Jaden Daniels, Mike Evans, James Conner, and Chris Olave coming around the corner. Love the Olave get there. It looks nice. Really balanced start for you as well. I, on the other hand, do not know what a balanced start looks like, apparently. So because of that, it is now time for us to take our first running back. We'll take RJ Harvey here. He does fall a little bit, so we get him about 4 picks past ADP. He does have a Week 17 bring back with Xavier Worthy in Kansas City, so we have a little bit of that built in, which is always nice, a little what I'll call hidden bonus value. Addison goes at 66. I'm feeling really good about how rooms have changed. This training camp, with the way injuries have gone, it feels like ADP has moved a lot more this year than in years past. And maybe I'm having recency bias, but last year, I just remember like when I was in August last year drafting teams, I felt like the boards were pretty much set and you'd be lucky to find something that drastically moved a couple of players. Like people were just going to training camp. They did okay, basic little coach speech, but everybody just pretty much drafted the same way. Same players went on the right side of the board, same one on the left. And it just felt like last year there wasn't a whole lot of movement. Fazy Dillons takes Joe Burrow when he's already got Jalen Hurts. I guess he stacks Joe Burrow with Chase Brown. Jalen Hurts he stacks with no one. So not really sure what he did there. Don't like it. Don't agree with it. I appreciate your approach because it just means you're more likely to be one more team who won't win money, but you're not dead yet. You can still make it work. Back-to-back Green Bay receivers go. Why don't you take a third quarterback there, Fazy? Make it fun. Let's see here. All right, I see some things I like. Really? Patrick Mahomes goes at 77. Somebody reached deep into the pocket to grab Patrick Mahomes. I definitely see a few things we'd like to do here. All right, so it works out. The guy I was eyeing up was Jacoby Myers here. He's normally picked at 71. We're going to get him at 80. Definitely nice value on him to be our 5th wide receiver. Feels really nice. And with Jacoby Myers, the Vegas Raiders play the New York Giants in Week 17. So there's a Week 17 bring back there. Opens us up to another quarterback later. So feel really good about how that played out. We'll have to definitely do some work in this running back room. So we already have 5 wide receivers. This feels like it could be a team where we only get 7. And then the good news is when we have Lamar Jackson, we probably only need one more quarterback because we have an elite quarterback, which means we can definitely probably get into some 6 running back style team. But we'll see what kind of values fall our way. There's definitely some values. I feel like we're getting a little more spread out now. Mooney goes. All right, Shakir goes. So I was kind of eyeing him up. He's still there. My man, Brian Robinson. Come on down. You are now a part of our fantastic Zero RB room. When I was making the thumbnails for this video, I was trying to find like this picture of Derrick Henry, where he had like someone might have cropped like a crown on his head while he's stiff arming a guy to the ground or something. I don't know, and then crop the other guy out. But I ran out of patience, and so I ended up finding just like whatever picture of Derrick Henry I could find. Wasn't anything extra special, but sometimes it's amazing. People don't realize that, especially if you don't have like a team of people trying to do this for you, that there's work that actually goes into doing these streams, right? So there's prep in advance, and there's stuff you got to do before you can even just click the button. So Bully QB, that's me when I feel like it's to my advantage. Yeah. Listen, Bully QB can work. It's just it negatively, the data shows it's not the optimal way to do it, but it can work, and if nothing else, it can certainly be a way to help you get through into the playoffs. It just may not be optimal once you get to the playoffs. All right, ETN goes at 100. Cooper Kupp 101. George Riserton. Trey Harris goes. All right, perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to happen. I didn't want to say it out loud in case Brandon was eyeing him up. We get Mark Andrews to stack with Lamar Jackson. We get him at ADP of 102. I'm sorry, we get him at 104, and that's about where he's been going. He's getting pulled up a little bit now because of the likely news, and I'm excited that when we don't get Zay Flowers, we got ourselves Mark Andrews on that bring back. So makes me feel good. Makes me feel real good. Brandon says, do you have any Hurts, Allen, Bully stack teams that week 17 showdown? I'm going to say no. It doesn't mean I guess it's possible I do. I really don't think I do. Just because even on that week 17 showdown, you can only have one of them that scores. And I get it that if that whole thing goes off and you only need one anyway, I don't know. I just feel like I'd be sacrificing too much value in running back or wide receiver at such a high cost to get those guys. So I don't think I'll have one unless some crazy fall happens. I can see it happen because Hurts does go sometimes in the 5th round, but it's just unlikely that I'll have it. All right, so we got to keep playing some games here. I'm actually going to grab another tight end. I'm going to grab Tucker Kraft. Green Bay tight end, bring back to Baltimore in week 17. Don't love it, don't hate it. There's other guys on the board I like there too. So I think I kind of panic clicked that a little bit. I generally have stayed away from the bully quarterback or bully tight end strategies, meaning to say I don't go 2 elite tight ends or 2 elite quarterbacks ever. I mean, it'd have to be some ridiculous value for me to do that. Like I'd have to fall into it. Like I think I do have a team now that you mention it where I think I have Joe Burrow who fell in somewhere in round 8. somehow, and I'd already gotten like Jalen Hurts or somebody, in the middle rounds, and I think I just took him just because he was there. It was such a stupid fall that I just grabbed him. Surprised I didn't take Cam there. Yeah, I thought about it. I need another running back, and actually, I've got a good amount of Cam on my teams. I like him a lot. I actually probably wanted Charbonnet. Like if I was going to go running back, I probably would have took Charbonnet there, if I'm being honest. And if I take a quick peek, Charbonnet, I think, he's not like your typical handcuff back, right? He's more of a 1A, 1B kind of guy. And when Kenneth Walker, who's injury prone, gets hurt, Charbonnet definitely shows up. And there was talk earlier in the offseason they were going to trade Kenneth Walker and let Charbonnet be the guy. So that would be a crazy thought. But I definitely like Charbonnet, the player. He's definitely a talented guy. And I think he'll have a role in the offense. He did have 3 top 10 weeks last year out of 17. He finished as the running back 25, but when you're not the starter, it's hard to really say that that's bad. But where he's getting drafted, and he's only in year 3. So. All right, so we are going to get my man Trevor Lawrence here as our second and final quarterback, pairs up with Travis Hunter, and he does have some legs, so he can run, so there's some value there. And so we've now stacked both quarterbacks up with at least one pass catcher. Feels pretty good. We definitely have some digging out to do at running back still. I don't love our running back room. I am not an RJ Harvey guy at all. I know that they like him, but I think J.K. Dobbins still has the juice, and he goes in round 10 and 11. Rather have that guy than having to get R.J. Harvey in rounds 5 and 6. I'm just not there. But if he's the guy you need, I've got him on my team, at least for this one. Oops. Let's just queue up some running backs here because we're going to need some. I think I'm good with either one of these guys. Williams goes. Ideally, Stevenson would come back, and he does. Ramondre is interesting to me because I think he's still going to be the primary starting back. I think he might even be the goal line back. He might lose some pass catching work to the rookie, and I like the rookie. He might even be the better running back over a period of time, but I think Stevenson's going to have a role. And when we're a 0 RB team, we need guys that can rotate in, even if it's early in the year, and get us some points. So definitely need some. Had my 14-team home league redraft yesterday, PPR. I feel like redraft leagues this early in August is a little early, but 14 teams strong for sure. Quarterback was Dak, Geno. Running back was Henry, CMC, Garendo, Benson. Wide receivers were Adams, Pickens, Myers, Ibuka, Lockett, Austin. Tight ends Warren and Kraft. I like the upside that you have. So, obviously you've got Dak and Geno. You stack Geno with Myers, so that feels good. Henry is going to be good. CMC is good. And then I think Benson's going to have a breakout year. I've talked about that. Adams is a solid guy every week. Pickens could be great. Myers. I mean, I think you're pretty well covered all around. Especially in a 14-team league, it's kind of hard to be that balanced. So I think you did a nice job. I really do. It looks like a solid team. All right. I got sniped by Zach Squeezak again. I wanted Dobbs there, but all is good. All is not lost. We're going to go ahead with Tyler Algier as we keep this pulling out this running back room. Still a pretty balanced team. I still feel pretty good about it, and we'll see how we can kind of finish out. Fantasy Doc says last year Burrow was a tournament winner, right? Well, week 15 he was like QB 13 or so, super low advance rate. Yeah. So Burrow Burrow crushed. I mean, he usually crushes every year, but it was really not so much Burrow as it was the combination of Chase and Higgins. And Higgins specifically was a guy you really needed to have in the fantasy football playoff because of what he did. Higgins was special last year, and now that's why he's going round 2. And I like Higgins, the player, and I'm going to show you in a second, but I think people have recency bias, and they know that, hey, he won people a lot of money last year, and he's on a good team. So they're like, yeah, let me go get some of him. And I get it. You want to get him. But, again, he's still a number 2, or you can call him a 1A, 1B. I get it, but he's not going to, unless an injury happens, his ceiling is still capped. And so I don't love getting him in the second round. I think he doesn't belong there. I think it's too high to get him in. If I scroll up in this draft, he went in round 3 to MK, which is a little bit better. But okay, in the second round, he's the only 2 that would go, right? Ladd McConkey, the 1, Tyreek, the 1, AJ Brown, the 1, Drake London, the 1, Amon-Ra, the 1, right? Going to round 3, Marvin Harrison, the 1. Devontae Adams is really the first 2 that goes, other than T. Higgins, right? Garrett Wilson, a 1. JSN, a 1. Then really this is where you start to get into more of your 2s. George Pickens is a 2 in round 4. You still have DJ Moore as a 1. Cortland Sutton's a 1. Rice is technically the 1. Williams is the 2. Tett's a 1. But there's still all these dominant 1s. Devonta Smith, who I think is probably a better overall talent than T. Higgins, but don't shoot me. I just think that T. Higgins scores more points because Cincinnati throws so much because their defense sucks. But he goes 2 rounds to 3 rounds later. I just don't like the value. I love the player T. Higgins. I really do. I don't love the value. And I think because he did so well in the playoffs last year, people are, and of course he's on a great passing offense. I'm not faulting anybody for taking him. I just would rather take him in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and I will never take him in the 2nd round. Ever. I just won't. I'll wait and let him fall to me at least in the 3rd and get some pieces there. That's just me. I could totally be wrong. He could be the guy again this year, and I'm out on it, and I'm going to be light on him. So my mantra is ADPs protect the players I want. Yeah. Brandon says, been buying the Najee dip. Hope I'm right. Possibly around 8%. Brandon, I'm there. I'm over on Najee, and I was there before the dip. I've slowed down with the dip, but I'm still getting pieces of him. I definitely think he'll be okay, even though he needed a back it up Terry moment there on 4th of July, but I think he'll still be okay. Giving some love for the team. Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to look through it. I really do think he did a nice job. He says he likes protecting ADP. Yeah, I mean, listen, ADP matters. I think in best ball especially, obviously ADP matters, but with ADP, it changes based on where what round you're in. Once you get past, as the rounds get later, ADP matters so much less. I mean, immensely less. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think you have to be cautious about Squeezak sniped me. Again, he sniped 3 players that I was going to take before me a couple times there, and I'm not feeling that at all. So Michael Wilson was one of my most drafted receivers down here with where he goes, and I'm a little bummed because the guy now is in concussion protocol, but I've taken him a bunch, especially on my Kyler Murray teams. But normally he's an easy click for me there, and that's why I was taking so much of him. Fantasy says, so are you happy with your team? That's all that matters. But listen to my friend here before me just saying, no, listen, we're all here to help each other. So, if we've got takes, even if we just challenge each other's thought process, right, it still helps you want to think through and give you rationale. What I always tell people is you might have an opinion on a player. You've seen a player, we're not experts. We're not scouts. We're not professional coaches. Right. And if I was, whatever team I was a professional scout for is probably not going to win the Super Bowl. But we can take our thoughts and people's opinions. They might have a different take on it. Then I always say you got to look at data, right? So cycle in the data. And then when you put that together, then all of a sudden you've really got something you can work with, right? This works out great. Hopkins falls, and we will smash him and double stack our man Lamar. So I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, so I always just tell people if you're not sure, or if you're between players or between fences, look at data, look at facts, and then I also look at what offenses they're on. Are they going to score points? Because that still matters. And then there's other factors like if you're looking at youth versus age, where's the cutoff? Where's the fall off there? Are you looking at draft? If you're looking at rookies, what's their draft capital? Even your second year players, what's their draft capital? I'm drafting a ton of Rome because he didn't have a great first year. He's drafting low, and he's on an offense that could get better. And I love Rome. So I think, and he was a first round draft capital player. So there's a guy that I like. There's just a lot of ways to look at it. You just got to challenge yourself. Najee's been Jim's guy since he was at Michigan, trying to recruit him. Definitely have a role this season. Maybe he gets phased out in a couple of years. Yeah, I agree. And listen, Najee still he's only on a 1-year deal. He's going to want to prove it to get a deal too, right? You want to show that somebody, whether it's that team or another team, is going to want to take him. So he's got nothing to lose. So I'm definitely going to be over on Najee, and I am right now, and I'm going to keep it up. Fantasy Dog, really happy, man. Before the draft, I was like, I'm going to have to choose between Henry and CMC, two of my favorite players to watch. Ended up getting both. Yeah, it's hard to get both on a team in most cases, so getting both is nice. Fantasy Dog got a third tight end, didn't need it. I hate when that happens. Says, not gonna lie, after hearing a few of my takes today, I knew you knew what you were talking about. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm not trying to say that I'm right ever, and I've got a crystal ball. I'm just giving you something to think about, just telling you where my head's at, how I think about things. It's worked out pretty well for me overall, and if it helps you just think through or challenges the thought process. I mean, listen, you could completely disagree with the take, and you could be right. I've been wrong. I'm going to be wrong on players this year, and I can't wait to look back and say, hey, where did I screw up? Because I definitely will screw up something. But I hope I'm more right than wrong. And, that can ultimately lead to, some good years, some money. What am I doing here? I need guys that are going to score points. Where's Tyler Lockett at? Boom. Feels good. Where are we at? One more pick. That's what I thought. All right, I'm at a 2.573 build. I think I'm gonna get another running back. Is where we're going here. And I definitely know what I want to do. I just don't know if it'll get there. I'll wait for Fantasy Dog to go, and then I'll queue up my running back of choice here in case he's eyeing one up. Look at I want to call him Tesla, but Tesla and Noah Brown pick there. I don't think I've clicked him once, in Detroit, even on my Detroit teams. I don't think I've clicked him once this year. Not avoiding him. I just don't feel like I've clicked him. Perfect. Kareem Hunt comes down. Perfect way to finish off a draft. So I'll recap my team, and then I'll take a look at your guys' team. So I went quarterback Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence. Running back, we have RJ Harvey, Brian Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson, Tyler Algier, Roschon Johnson, Kareem Hunt. This is definitely a 0 RB team. That's why we have 6 the running backs. We don't have a true anchor. Wide receiver, Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Xavier Worthy, Travis Hunter, Jacoby Myers, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Lockett. Tight end, Mark Andrews, Tucker Kraft, Brenton Strange. We did double stack Brenton Strange and Travis Hunter with Trevor Lawrence. And then with Lamar, we did a double stack with DeAndre Hopkins and Mark Andrews. Baltimore has a Green Bay Week 17 bring back, and so Tucker Kraft is there on, from a Green Bay standpoint. I guess Jacksonville plays Indianapolis Colts. I do not have one. Instead of Tyler Lockett, I was trying to get a Colts wide receiver that I like there, but he got sniped a couple pieces ahead of me. So I feel good about my team. A lot of young, talented. These are the types of receivers that I like. Guys that are ones in their offense, alphas, young enough, upcoming, can win the week on their own because either of high target share or they have playmaker abilities. I feel like we've got the tight end depth we need, and then plenty of shots here, and maybe one of these guys will break out. An injury could easily make one of these guys a handcuff turn into a starter, and we definitely have 2 rushing, high upside quarterbacks. So I like the team a lot. So let's take a look at what you guys did, and then I'll catch up in the comments real quick. So Fantasy Dog went Derrick Henry. Let's just do it differently. You got Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield at quarterback. You got Noah Brown. Any other Washington that I'm missing? Nope. And then you did stack Mike Evans with Baker, so you got a little bit of stacking there. Your other wide receivers, Amon-Ra, Chris Olave, Quentin Johnston, Palmer, Adam Thielen. And then you took a couple of shots down here. And then tight end, you got Mason Taylor, Zach Ertz. Oh, you have a stack there, so it's a double stack on Washington. Mason Taylor, Zach Ertz, and Tyler Warren. Love Tyler Warren. Good pick there. Derrick Henry, James Conner, Jordan Mason, J.K. Dobbins, Austin Eckler at running back. How you feeling, fantasy, about your team? And then Brandon, let's see here. You did the anchor running back build at CMC. Then went A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Tet, Jalen Waddle, Jordan Addison, Josh Downs, wide receiver. You did get Tony Pollard, Scatabo, Harris, Rashad White at running back. And then 3 tight ends, Juwan Johnson, Darren Waller, Hunter Henry. You did throw in Anthony Richardson in there. And then you've got, let's see, Justin Fields and J.J. McCarthy. So Fields pairs with Garrett Wilson. I thought you had – no, you didn't have that tight end. So you got Garrett Wilson there. Then you've got J.J. McCarthy pairs up with Jordan Addison. And then you have Anthony Richardson, which pairs up with Josh Downs. So you got some stacks there. You got some good, it's a solid team. I think you both did really well. I think we should all be pretty happy with these teams. We put ourselves in a position where we could win some money. And so I don't think we screwed it up, so to speak. We didn't completely screw up our drafts. Brandon says, been fading James Conner hard to this season. Drafting Benson, glad to hear Conner is raving about him. Yeah, and actually the beginning of the year, I was in on Conner, and when I was drafting in April and May, and I drafted him a good amount, but not crazy. And then something told me to start drafting Benson at cost, and I liked him last year, and this could be his breakout year. And so I started drafting him hard. Now Connor's talking him out, and he's not really risen that much, so I'm definitely getting all the Benson I can get. Fantasy Doc says, we all know that you, like everyone else, are not perfect, but you're the best we can find, and we ain't going nowhere, so get used to it. Hey, man, I appreciate the love. Come on in. I'm here. Fantasy Dog, like your team. I do too. I think you did well. Brandon, 31% Kareem Hunt. Listen, I still don't get it. Kareem Hunt is listed as 2 on the depth chart still. He was the lead back on a good offense last year because Pacheco got hurt. There's no guarantee he's going to stay healthy. There's no guarantee he's still got the juice. Kareem Hunt is still be used. They like to rotate their backs. He can fall into the end zone, could be the goal line guy. He's going around 18. I don't get it. I have a good amount of Kareem Hunt too. I'm not at 31%, my man, but I've definitely got some. Yeah, good luck. Absolutely. Thought I had Fields, hence the Taylor pick. No, don't worry about it. Listen, you got to draft like you're right. So, just you got enough there where you have a solid team, and sometimes accidents happen. I'd rather be lucky than good, right? So, sometimes being lucky is better. Well, listen, that's it for me tonight. I'm going to call it a night, and then tomorrow is Tuesday. Technically, it's Tuesday now. I should be on for sure Wednesday night, I don't think I'll be on, and if I do get on, it'll be late. My parents are coming in town. I got to pick them up from the airport. So depending on what time they leave my house and go to their hotel, will dictate when I get on. So the rest of this week, other than tomorrow, might be on later than normal, but I definitely will be on. So definitely will. Appreciate it, Fantasy. All right. Well, you guys have a good night. Let's have a amazing Tuesday. Spread some love out there, and let's have a good evening, and we'll win some money tomorrow. Nice drafting with you guys.